Mira stepped off the dusty bus and looked around. The small mountain town was quiet. The air was clean, and pine trees surrounded the old buildings like green guards. She pulled her backpack closer to her shoulder and walked toward the only hostel. Listed in her travel guide, Dean's Rest. She had come here to get away. After everything that happened last year, the accident, the loss, the noise, she just wanted silence. Mountains didn't talk. They didn't ask questions. They just stood steady and still. The hostel was old but clean. Its wooden walls creaked when the wind blew, and the roof sloped like a tired hat. Mira liked it. It felt honest. The owner, an old man with kind eyes and a long gray beard, greeted her with a nod. "You're lucky," he said. "Only 5 rooms. 4 are full." Mira smiled politely. "Room 5? He handed her the key. "Room 3, the one you saw online, isn't ready. Someone's in 5 already." She nodded and went upstairs. As she passed room 4, she paused. The door was slightly open. Inside, a man sat on the edge of the bed, staring out the window. He didn't look up. He didn't move. Just sat there, quietly. Mira moved on. Later that evening, Mira sat in the lounge. With her tea, a blanket around her shoulders. The fire crackled. A few other guests were there. 2 noisy hikers planning their next climb, and a woman from the city typing loudly on a laptop. The man from room 4 entered. He had a scarf wrapped around his neck, even though the room was warm. He didn't say anything. He nodded at the owner, grabbed a cup of black coffee, and sat in the corner alone. Mira watched him for a while. He had strong hands, rough-like. He worked with tools. His eyes were sharp but calm. He didn't seem tired, just distant. "Who's that?" she whispered to the owner. The old man leaned in. "Name's Rian. Came last week. Stays quiet. Pays in cash. Never asks for much. Backpacker? Maybe. Doesn't talk much." Mira nodded but kept watching. Something about him didn't fit. Most backpackers bragged about where they'd been or talked endlessly about the next trail. But not him. He hadn't said a word. The next day, Mira went for a hike. She followed a narrow path through the trees, stopping now and then to take pictures. The sun peeked through the leaves, and birds chirped above. Halfway up the trail, she slipped on a loose rock and twisted her ankle. Pain shot up her leg, and she winced. She tried to stand, but it hurt too much. She looked around, hoping someone else was nearby. No one, just trees and silence. Then she heard footsteps. Calm, steady ones. Rian appeared through the trees, wearing his usual coat and scarf. He knelt beside her without saying a word, checked her ankle gently, then motioned for her to hold. Onto his shoulder. "Can you walk?" he asked finally. His voice was deeper than she expected. Calm and clear. "Not well," she replied. He helped her up, holding her carefully as they made their way back to the hostel. He moved quietly, always watching the path ahead. When they reached the porch, he helped her sit on the bench, then disappeared inside. A minute later, he returned with a bandage and some ice. "Thank you," Mira said, surprised. He just nodded and started wrapping her ankle. His hands were careful, practiced. "Not like someone helping for the first time. You've done this before," she said. "Many times." She wanted to ask more, but he stood up, gave a polite nod, and walked back to his room. That night, Mira couldn't sleep. The pain was bearable, but her thoughts were loud. Who was he? Why did he hide so much? She didn't believe he was just a backpacker. Not anymore. At midnight, the power went out. The lights flickered, then died. The wind howled outside. Mira got up and peeked through her curtain. The town below was dark, but the sky above, strange. A blue light shimmered faintly in the clouds. Then she noticed something else. Rian was outside, standing alone near the tree line. He held a small glowing device in his hand, flat, black and silent. He raised it to his ear and spoke in a language she didn't understand. Soft, sharp sounds, rhythmic, precise. She leaned forward, trying to listen, but the wind drowned out everything. Rian looked up at the sky again, then turned off the device. He stood there for a long time before slowly walking back to the hostel. Mira moved away from the window and sat on her bed, heart beating fast. He wasn't just a traveler. That much she knew now, but who or what was he? Mira sat on the porch the next morning, a warm blanket around her shoulders and a cup of tea in her hand. The wind was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and cold earth. Her ankle still hurt, but not as badly. She didn't go hiking today. She stayed back, watching the world more closely. Mostly, she watched Rian. He came out early, just after sunrise, and walked into the woods again. He moved like someone who knew every step of the ground, quiet and sure. Mira waited 20 minutes, then carefully followed, not too close, but enough to keep him in sight. The trees were thick, but she saw him stop near a fallen log. He knelt down and pulled something from under the leaves, a small metal case about the size of a book. He opened it and took out what looked like a map, but it glowed faintly with soft blue lines, floating just above the paper. Mira hid behind a tree, watching. Rian tapped the map. A symbol appeared. It looked like a circle with wings. He whispered something again, that same strange language she had heard last night. Then, he pulled out a small compass, but it wasn't like any compass Mira had ever seen. It didn't point north. The needle spun slowly in different directions, pausing, moving again, like it was looking for something. Suddenly, the compass stopped spinning. The needle pointed straight up to the sky. Rian froze. He looked around quickly, his body tense. Then, without warning, he closed the map, packed everything, and stood. Mira ducked behind the tree, holding her breath. He didn't say anything, but as he walked past her hiding spot, he stopped. "You shouldn't follow people into the woods," he said quietly, without turning. Mira stepped out, surprised and a little embarrassed. "I just wanted to know what you're doing." He looked at her now. His face was calm, but his eyes held something serious, like a warning. "You saw too much," he said. "I saw a map," she replied, "and a compass, and you speaking something that wasn't English." He stared at her a long moment. Then, instead of getting angry, he let out a quiet sigh. "This place is no longer safe," he said. Back at the hostel, Mira sat across from Rian in the empty lounge. The others had gone out, and the owner was sleeping in his chair. Mira wanted answers, and now Rian seemed ready to give her at least a few. "You're not a tourist," she said. "No," he agreed. "Then who are you?" He was silent for a moment, then pulled the glowing map from his coat and laid it on the table. This time, she saw it clearly. The floating lines weren't just roads or mountains. They looked like energy patterns with strange symbols moving across them. "This isn't from Earth," Mira said softly. "Parts of it are," Rian replied. "But the signals are not." He tapped one of the symbols. "This is a beacon. It activated 2 days ago." "Why?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at her seriously. "Sometimes people end up in places they weren't meant to find. Sometimes those people become part of something bigger." "Are you talking about me?" Mira asked. "Yes." She sat back, heart beating faster. "Why me? I'm just traveling, trying to get away from things." He nodded slowly. "That's what I was doing too, before I was chosen." Mira frowned. "Chosen for what?" "To watch. To protect. To wait." His voice was calm but heavy, like every word meant something more. "Wait for what?" she asked. Rian looked out the window. The clouds were darker now, low and thick, for the others to arrive. That night, a storm rolled in. Thunder shook the windows. The power flickered again, but this time didn't go out. Mira couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing. Rian's words stayed with her. She got up and walked quietly down the hall. She paused. In front of room 4, the door was closed, but a soft light glowed from underneath. She knocked gently. No answer. She knocked again. Finally, the door opened just a little. Rian stood there, coat on, boots laced. His scarf was off, and Mira saw a strange mark on his neck, like a thin silver line that pulsed faintly. "What is that?" she whispered. He didn't hide it. "It helps me hear things from above." "From above?" she repeated. "You mean space?" He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. "I think you deserve to know more," he said at last. He led her up a narrow staircase to the attic. There, under an old wooden table, was a hidden compartment. He opened it, revealing a sleek black case. Inside, tools, devices, and a metal badge with symbols Myra didn't recognize. Rian handed her a folded paper. It was a photo of a crash site, trees burned, smoke rising, and something in the center, a round silver object, half buried in the earth. "This fell 10 years ago," he said. "They've been looking for it ever since." "Who?" "The ones not from here." Mira stared at the photo, feeling cold. "Why are you here, Rian?" she asked quietly. "To keep the signal off," he replied. "But I think it just turned back on." He showed her the compass again. It was spinning again, faster this time. Myra looked into his eyes. "What happens if they find this place?" Rian didn't blink. "They won't come to talk." The storm passed by morning, but the sky didn't look normal. Thick clouds hung low over the hills, and a strange orange glow appeared far off in the distance. It wasn't the sun. It was something else. Mira stood at the hostel window, staring at the horizon. Her ankles still ached, but she couldn't stop thinking about Rian's words from the night before. The signal was active again, and someone or something was coming. Downstairs, the other guests had gathered near the fireplace, talking in low voices. The town's radio tower had stopped working during the night. No phone signals, no internet. It was like they had been cut off from the world. Even old man Deem seemed tense. He paced behind the counter, looking at the door every few minutes. "Where's Rian?" Mira asked. No one answered. She stepped outside. The wind had picked up again. The trees in the distance swayed hard, like something was pushing through them. Suddenly, a loud humming sound came from above. Mira looked up. Out of the thick clouds, a black helicopter appeared, silent and smooth, like it wasn't even touching the air. It hovered above the trees for a moment, then slowly lowered onto the grassy clearing behind the hostel. Mira's heart raced. There was only one person who could be inside. The side door opened. Rian stepped out, wearing a different coat now. It was sleek and dark, with a small symbol on the shoulder, a circle with 3 lines crossing through it. He had no scarf this time, only a thin device around his ear that blinked softly. Mira limped toward him, surprised and a little afraid. "You fly helicopters?" she asked. Rian gave a half smile. "That's the least surprising part." She stared at the aircraft behind him. It didn't make the usual noise. No chopping blades, no smoke, just a faint, smooth hum. It looked more like a machine from a movie than from real life. "Is that Earth-made?" she asked. "Mostly," he replied. "But it runs on something not found here." Before she could ask more, a loud boom echoed in the distance. They both turned. In the far hills, a bright red light shot up into the sky like a flare, then another, and another. "What is that?" Mira whispered. Rian's face grew serious. "They're here." The guests in the hostel ran outside, pointing at the sky. A second explosion lit up the clouds, followed by a streak of fire falling from above. It looked like something was crashing fast. A fireball hit the top of a far-off ridge, shaking the ground. The wind howled. Trees caught fire. Myra looked at Rian. "What's going on?" He didn't waste time. "They found the signal. They're dropping drones first, scanners. If they detect the relic here, a full team will follow. Relic? She asked. Is it under the hostel? Rian didn't answer. Instead, he opened the side panel on the helicopter and pulled out a silver box. He pressed a button and a small metal screen lit up, showing dots blinking, moving. Closing in. They're searching, he said. I need to move the relic before they narrow down the spot. What about the others? Mira asked, looking at the frightened guests. They'll be safe if we act now, he said. But I need you to trust me. Mira nodded. I do. Together. They ran back inside. Rian opened a door behind the counter that led to a hidden stairwell. Mira had never noticed it before. Old man Dean stood near it. He wasn't surprised. You sure you want to open it? The old man asked. Rian nodded. No more time. Dean stepped aside. Then do what you came here to do. Rian and Mira rushed down the stairs into a narrow tunnel. It led to a cold stone room with strange metal crates and glowing panels. On the walls, in the center, covered with a tarp, was a small silver sphere about the size of a basketball. This is it? Mira asked. Yes, Rian said. The relic. It's not a weapon, it's a memory core. It holds knowledge from long ago. Knowledge they don't want Earth to have. He picked it up carefully and placed it in a padded case. They will destroy everything to take this back. Suddenly, an alarm beeped on his device. Rian checked it and cursed it under his breath. They're closer than I thought. One of the drones is above the ridge. 2 minutes. He grabbed the case and looked at Mira. I can't stop them from scanning the hostel. But if I lead them away, with the relic, the rest of you will be safe. You're leaving? She asked. I have to. Then I'm coming with you, Myra said firmly. Rian stared at her. It's dangerous. I know, she said. But I've seen too much. Now, I can't go back to pretending. He hesitated, then nodded. They ran up the stairs and out the back door. The helicopter door opened again, and Rian helped Mira inside. The seats were smooth and glowing faintly, and the controls looked nothing like regular aircraft panels. As they lifted off the ground, Mira looked out the window and saw a metal drone flying low through the trees, its red eye blinking slowly. The drone turned toward the hostel. Now, Rian said, pushing the controls. The helicopter shot forward, cutting through the clouds like a silent arrow. Behind them, the drone turned sharply and followed as they flew over the hills. Mira could see burned patches of forest, trees split down the middle, and glowing ash in the air. Other drones were moving, scanning, searching. She looked at Rian. Nor are we going? North, he said. There's a hidden bunker. If we can reach it, we can send a message to the rest of the Watchers. Let them know Earth is no longer hidden. Mira held the case tightly. I was just a traveler, she said softly. Not anymore, Rian replied. Outside, the fire in the sky burned brighter. The helicopter flew low through the clouds, silent except for a soft hum. Mira held onto the seat, staring out the window. Below, the mountains stretched like sleeping giants. Smoke still rose in the distance from the drone crashes. The sky behind them flickered with orange and blue light signs that something worse might still be coming. Rian sat beside her, focused, hands steady on the controls. How much farther? Mira asked. 15 minutes, Rian said. We're almost at the crash site. The one from the photo? She asked. He nodded. 10 years ago, something fell from the sky and buried itself deep in the mountain. I was sent here after that to watch for anything unusual. That relic we took from the basement, it's connected to that crash. Mira leaned back, trying to understand. Why was it left here? It wasn't meant to be found, Rian explained. But the signal was triggered. And now the others, those not from Earth, they're tracking everything. Mira looked at the silver case on the floor between them. The relic inside pulsed faintly, like it had a heartbeat. I still don't understand why I'm part of this, she said quietly. Rian glanced at her. You were at the right place at the right time. That matters more than you think. The clouds thinned as they flew higher. Soon, they reached a long, narrow ridge with scorched trees and broken stone. At the center was a wide crater blackened at the edges. Deep in the middle, this is it, Rian said as he landed the helicopter. Mira stepped out, limping slightly, but her ankle had improved. The air smelled of ash and metal. The trees around. The crater had no leaves, no life. It was quiet, too quiet. In the center of the crater was a half-buried silver sphere, much larger than the relic, this one as big as a small car. Its surface was smooth, but strange markings glowed along its side. Mira felt drawn to it. Rian opened the case and took out the relic. As soon as it got close to the larger sphere, both objects began to glow brighter. They recognize each other, he said. Mira stood beside him. What is it really? Rian looked at the sphere. It's a signal node, a kind of alien satellite. Long ago, Earth wasn't just alone in the stars. It was connected. But those connections were hidden on purpose. Why? She asked. Because Earth wasn't ready. But the moment the signal woke up again, everything changed. Rian placed the relic gently into a slot on the side of the larger sphere. A soft hum filled the air, and the sphere lit up with blue symbols. Suddenly, a beam of light shot straight into the sky. Mira covered her eyes. What is it doing? Sending a message, Rian replied. It's telling the others, our allies, that we're still here, and we need help. Will they hear it? I hope so. But not everyone wanted the signal sent. A sharp sound echoed from the sky, a screeching noise, like metal tearing. Mira looked up and gasped. A black drone appeared above them, hovering. Then two more. They circled the crater like vultures. They've found us, she shouted. Rian pulled out a compact device and tapped a few buttons. A shield burst up from the ground around the sphere, blocking the drone's first scan. We have 5 minutes before that shield breaks, he said. I need to finish the data transfer. What do I do? Mira asked. Guard the edge. If one gets too close, hit this button. He handed her a small pulse device that looked like a flashlight. It'll send a shockwave to knock them back. She nodded, heart racing. One of the drones moved lower, scanning the ground with a red beam. Mira waited until it got closer, then pressed the button. A blast of blue energy shot forward and struck the drone. It spun out and crashed into the trees. Nice shot, Rian said. Another drone came from the right. Mira hit the button again. Another blast, another crash. But more were coming. Rian kept working. Lines of alien code moved across the screen on his wrist. The silver sphere now glowed like a small sun. The message is almost complete, he said. They'll know Earth isn't blind anymore. Suddenly, the shield flickered. A final drone dropped fast and fired a small missile. It struck the side of the shield, breaking part of it. The blast threw Mira to the ground. She coughed and tried to get up, but her ankle twisted again. The pulse device slid away. The drone hovered above her, red beam aimed. Rian jumped between her and the drone. He raised his arm, and a bright blue energy shield blocked the beam. You okay? He asked. Mira nodded. Yeah, but that was close. He helped her up. 1 more minute, then we run. The sphere let out a loud chime, clear and deep. A final beam of light rose from it, brighter than the others, reaching far into the sky. It looked like it pierced the clouds. Then, silenced. The drones paused. One by one, they shut off and fell, like puppets with strings cut. What just happened? Mira asked. They heard us, Rian said with a slow breath. The message went through. He picked up the relic again, which was now dim. The larger sphere's surface turned dark and still. It'll go quiet again now, he said. But not forever. Earth is waking up. They got back into the helicopter. Rian looked at Mira as they rose into the sky. You didn't have to. "Come with me," he said. "I wanted to," she replied. "I think I needed to." Rian gave a rare smile. "Then you might be ready for what comes next." Mira looked down as the crater faded below them. Somewhere above the clouds, someone, or something, was listening now, and Earth was no longer alone. The sun was beginning to set as the helicopter returned to the hostel. The sky burned orange over the mountains, but a quiet stillness covered the land below. Mira sat beside Rian, tired but alert, still holding the now silent relic in her hands. She looked at Rian. "So, what happens now?" "We wait," he replied. "The signal reached our allies. If they respond, things will change. But we need to prepare for the ones who'll try to stop that." "More drones?" Mira asked. "Worse than drones," Rian said quietly. The helicopter touched down behind the hostel. The place looked untouched, but something felt different. The wind had shifted, and the air was heavier, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. Inside, the guests were gone. The lounge was empty. No lights were on. Old Man Dean stood at the reception counter. "Waiting. You made it back," he said without surprise. "We did." Rian nodded. Mira watched the two men. There was something strange between them: respect, silence, and a sense that they both understood things no one else did. Dean's eyes shifted to Myra. "She was with you?" "She helped save the node," Rian said. "She's part of this now." Dean gave a small nod. "Then she deserves to see it." Mira blinked. "See what?" Dean didn't answer with words. Instead, he walked toward the back of the hostel and opened a hidden wooden door behind the staircase. It led down to the same underground passage Myra had visited earlier with Rian. But this time, they went deeper, past the storage room, past the chamber with crates. At the end of the tunnel was a heavy metal door, covered in dust and symbols Myra couldn't read. Dean placed his hand on a small pad. The door let out a soft click and opened slowly. Behind it was a room filled with soft blue light. Mira stepped inside and gasped. The walls were smooth metal. Lights floated in the air like tiny stars. At the center was a wide circle built into the floor, made of glowing panels and rings of silver. Rian stepped forward. "This is the gate." "A gate to what?" Mira asked. "Not where," Dean said. "To who?" Rian nodded. "This is a communication gate. Not like radios or satellites. It uses gravity lines and light waves. It's one of Earth's last links to the Old Alliance." "Old Alliance?" Mira repeated. Rian touched one of the panels. A hologram appeared, showing the Earth and 3 other planets spinning slowly. A long time ago, Earth was connected to other worlds. Not ruled by them, not invaded, but part of something bigger. A peaceful system. A shared watchtower. But something went wrong? She guessed. Dean's face grew sad. The connection was broken. Enemies wanted Earth for themselves. The alliance faded. This place, this hostel, was built over one of the last working gates. Mira looked around in wonder. "And you've been protecting it all this time?" Rian nodded. "That's why I came here. I was trained for it. After the crash 10 years ago, the relic was hidden to prevent the enemy from detecting the gate." "And the signal we sent?" Mira asked. "It told the others we're still here," Rian said. "And now they might come to restore the link. Or to warn us of something worse." Mira walked toward the center of the gate and looked down. The rings moved slowly, glowing with soft pulses of light. She knelt down and placed her hand near the edge. For a moment, the light responded, flickering and swirling gently. "It reacts." "To you," Rian said. Dean tilted his head. "Maybe she's more than just in the right place." Mira stood slowly. "You think I'm connected to this somehow?" "Maybe not by blood," Dean said, "but by purpose. The gate doesn't open for just anyone." Suddenly, a panel behind them lit up, showing a new symbol, a triangle with 3 dots glowing red. Rian rushed over. Incoming signal, not from the Alliance. Mira felt her chest tighten. Then who? Rian checked the device. Enemy scout ships. They're still looking. The relic's power brought attention we didn't want. Dean's voice was calm. Then it's time. He walked over to a metal case and opened it. Inside was a suit, not armor, but something made of flexible black material with silver lines across the arms and chest. He handed it to Rian. You've protected the gate long enough, he said. Now you may need to defend it. Rian took the suit and nodded silently. Mira watched all of this, stunned. Just 2 days ago, she was a lonely traveler looking for peace. Now she stood in a hidden room beneath a quiet hostel, guarding something that could change the future of the planet. I want to help, she said. Rian looked at her. You already have, Dean raised an eyebrow. You sure? Mira nodded. I don't know everything. I'm not trained. But I've seen what's coming. I don't want to sit and wait for it to destroy us. Rian gave a small smile. Then, we get ready together. They returned to the surface. The air outside was colder now. Dusk was almost gone, and stars had begun to appear overhead. But not all the stars were stars. In the far distance, Mira saw 3 lights moving together too. Fast, too quiet. She pointed. Is that them? Rian didn't answer. He just opened the helicopter panel again and pulled out 2 more devices, one for him, one for her. She took hers and held it tightly. Tomorrow, Rian said, looking at the dark sky. Tomorrow they'll come closer. And we'll be ready, Myra replied. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running from anything. Now she was standing at the gate of something far bigger than herself. The morning sky was painted with dull gray clouds, heavy and silent. The hostel was quiet, too quiet. Mira stood on the porch, wrapped in a jacket, holding a small pulse device in her hand. She had not slept much. Neither had Rian. Inside, Old Man Dean sat in his chair by the fireplace, sharpening a metal rod that looked far too advanced to be just a walking stick. He looked calm, as if he'd been waiting for this day for a long time. Rian stepped outside in his black suit, the silver lines along his arms glowing faintly. He held a small square device in his hand that showed the sky in a live scan. They're getting close, he said. How many? Mira asked. 3 scout ships, he replied. Fast, armed, and not friendly. She nodded, gripping the pulse device tighter. We're not fighting to win, Rian continued. We're just buying time. Time for the gate to charge. The gate is opening? Mira asked. He nodded. Not fully, but the signal yesterday triggered a partial reboot. We may be able to send one last call. If the Alliance responds, they could stop what's coming. And if they don't, then Earth fights alone. By noon, the sky had changed again. The clouds spun slowly in a wide circle, like something large was moving just above them. The wind picked up. Birds flew away. Even the forest seemed to fall silent. Then came the sound, a low humming, growing louder, sharper, not like a plane, not like anything Mira had heard before. She and Rian ran to the back clearing where the helicopter waited. Already powered on, Rian tossed Mira a helmet. You still want to fly with me? Mira smiled. Always. They jumped in. The helicopter lifted smoothly into the air, gliding toward the swirling clouds. As they rose above the treetops, Mira saw them, 3 dark ships, triangular in shape, floating through the sky like shadows. They didn't flap, didn't shake, didn't roar. They just glided, silent and deadly. They're scanning, Rian said, checking the controls, looking for the gate. Can they sense it? Not if we distract them first. The first scout ship turned toward them, red lights glowing under its nose. A beam of light shot out hot and fast, but Rian banked hard to the left. The helicopter moved like it had wings of its own, smooth and responsive. Mira held tight as the sky tilted sideways. Another beam shot past them, cutting through a cloud. Rian pressed a button on his panel. A thin burst of light flew from their ship, hitting the left wing of the Scout. The enemy ship tilted, spun, then recovered. "They're stronger than drones," Rian said. "Smarter, too." "Any backup coming?" Myra asked. Rian checked the screen. "Not yet." Another Scout ship came from above, aiming to box them in. Rian looked at Myra. "I need you to control the pulse shield. When I say now, press that silver button." She nodded. "Got it." The enemy ship fired again. This time, the beam was aimed at their rear engine. "Now." Rian shouted. Myra slammed the silver button. A blue shield burst from the tail, catching the blast just in time. The impact pushed them forward but didn't break the shield. Rian spun the helicopter in a full turn and fired back. The pulse hit the ship's lower hull, causing it to smoke. One down. But the third Scout was coming fast. It dove from the clouds like a hawk and released a set of spinning orbs, small, fast, glowing red. "Missile drones," Rian shouted. "They'll lock onto heat. What do we do? Trust me." He flipped the switch. The helicopter suddenly dropped, losing height. Fast. Mira's stomach jumped as the trees rushed up. Just before they hit the treetops, Rian pulled back. The helicopter skimmed the forest, weaving between tall pines. The missile drones followed, but one by one, they hit branches and exploded in the trees. They rose back into the sky. "All 3 Scouts are still up," Mira said, checking the screen. "But they're scattered now," Rian replied. "We can lead them away." "From the hostel?" "No, from the gate." Back at the hostel, Old Man Deem stood in the underground chamber. The gate spun slowly, lights dancing across the rings. A soft hum filled the room. The symbols on the panels glowed brighter, now like something was waking up. He placed his hand on the panel and spoke a phrase in a quiet language. The gate pulsed once, then a beam of light fired upward, piercing the ground and shooting into the sky. A new signal had been sent out in the air. Rian saw it, a column of white-blue light shooting up from behind the forest. "They opened it," he said. "Now the Scouts will go straight there." "They'll destroy the hostel," Mira said. "Not if we stop them here." The Scout ships turned as one and began heading back toward the signal. Rian flew higher, pulling the helicopter into a steep climb. He pressed a button and a small hatch opened at the bottom of the ship. "This is all we've got," he said. "A gravity charge bomb. It'll pull anything within 300 meters into one spot and then collapse it." "That includes us, right?" Mira asked. "Unless we time it just right." He released the device. It fell silently, blinking blue as it dropped between the 3 enemy Scouts. Rian spun the ship and dove. "Hold tight," he shouted. The charge exploded. There was no fire, no sound, just a sudden pull in the air, like the sky bent in one sharp twist. All 3 Scout ships were yanked together, slammed into each other, and collapsed inward like crumpled paper. The air rippled, then went still. Mira looked back. Nothing remained. "We did it," she whispered. "For now." Rian said. They landed back near the hostel just as the beam of light faded. Old Man Deem met them at the porch. "Signal's out," he said. "The gate spoke. Let's see who listens." Rian looked up at the sky. "And let's hope they come before more do." Mira stood beside him, watching the stars appear. She wasn't scared anymore. She was ready. The stars above were shining clearly now. The clouds had cleared after the battle, and the mountain air was still. The forest around the hostel stood silent once more, but everything had changed. Mira stood by the gate, her eyes on the night sky. It was hard to believe that only a few days ago, she was just a traveler looking for quiet. Now she was part of something she didn't fully understand, but somehow, it felt right. Behind her, the circular platform of the gate still hummed with soft blue light. It had stopped spinning, but it wasn't silent. Every few minutes, a soft pulse echoed from its core. It was waiting for an answer. Rian stood nearby, his black suit dusty from the flight. His eyes stayed on the stars. "They haven't responded yet," he said. Myra nodded. "Will they?" He didn't answer right away. Sometimes these signals take time. The Alliance might be far, or they might be watching already. She looked at him. "And if they never respond?" Rian looked at her with calm eyes. "Then we protect this place with what we have." Back in the lounge, Old Man Dean poured hot tea into 2 mugs and handed one to Myra. The fire was crackling, and everything seemed strangely normal again, if not for the broken glass in the windows and the quiet buzz of the tech below their feet. "You did well," Dean said. Myra sipped her tea. "I was scared," Dean smiled. "Good. It means you cared. That's how we know who's ready." Myra looked at him closely. "How long have you been guarding the gate?" Dean leaned back. "Longer than most people stay in one place. I was younger when I found out about the crash 10 years ago. The world above didn't believe anything strange had happened, but I knew better." He glanced at the floor. Then Rian arrived. Said he was sent to help. He never explained everything, but I trusted him. "You always knew?" Myra asked. "I always watched," Dean replied. Later that night, Myra and Rian sat outside on the porch. The stars above looked brighter than usual. Somewhere in the sky, something blinked, then disappeared. "Do you miss your old life?" she asked. Rian shrugged. "I was never really part of it. My real training began when I was very young. I was chosen because I could hear signals no one else could. That silver mark on my neck, it connects me to patterns in the air." "You're not human?" she asked softly. "I am," he said. "But different. The Alliance used to work with humans who had special senses, hearing, memory, focus. I was one of them. They sent me here because Earth still mattered." Myra thought for a moment. "And me? I'm not special like that." "You are," Rian replied. "You chose to stay. You chose to help. That's something even trained watchers can't always do." She smiled a little. "So what happens now? We stay alert. The signal might bring allies or enemies. But either way, the gate is open now. Earth has a voice again." The next morning, the hostel had power again. The guests who had run off during the drone attacks returned slowly, confused but safe. Rian and Deem had agreed not to explain everything. To them, not yet. Myra helped clean up the lounge and repair the broken windows. She moved without fear now. She had a purpose. When she went to her room, she found a small metal box on her bed. It was from Rian. Inside was a new pulse device, smaller and sleeker than the first one. Beside it was a note, "For the next time." Rian. 3 days passed. The sky remained quiet. No more scout ships, no more drones. But the gate continued to hum, waiting. One evening, just as the sun dipped behind the far ridge, something new happened. A beam of white light appeared above the mountain. It wasn't loud or fiery. It just glowed softly, then opened like a door in the sky. From it, a silver ship descended, graceful, round, and smooth. It didn't land. It floated just above the ground, near the clearing behind the hostel. Myra and Rian stood together, watching it with wide eyes. "They came," she whispered. Rian nodded. "The Alliance answered." The ship projected a calm circular light on the grass. A figure stepped out, tall, dressed in flowing gray robes. The face was hidden beneath a silver visor, but the voice was clear. "Earth has awakened." Rian stepped forward. "The signal was sent. The gate is still strong." The figure nodded. "We saw. The scouts will not return for now. But the world must prepare. This is only the beginning." Myra stepped beside Rian. "What do we do?" The figure turned toward her. "You watch, you teach, you protect." Another beam of light lifted the figure back into the ship. The door closed, and the vessel rose silently into the sky, vanishing into the stars. That night, Rian packed a bag. Mira helped him store the relic again in the secret underground chamber. The gate's light dimmed but didn't disappear. "You're leaving?" she asked. "Just for a while," he said. "There are other gates, other signals. I need to check them. Will you come back?" He smiled. "This place is my first post. I'll always return here." He walked toward the helicopter, but stopped halfway. "Mira?" "Yes? You were never just a traveler." And then he flew off into the sky. Weeks later, tourists began returning to the hostel. The mountains seemed peaceful again. But Mira knew better. She now helped Dean take care of the place. But she also watched the skies, studied the gate, and kept the pulse device close. When new guests arrived, she welcomed them like any friendly host. But when one quiet man checked into room 4, wearing a strange coat and carrying nothing but a compass with no north, Mira only smiled and said, "Welcome. Let me show you around." Because she knew